We're online. Okay, well here's the view this morning. It's pretty fresh, but clear blue skies and the birds are coughing into life. It's always good. Let's go into the studio.
Probably close the door just so we don't hear the cars around. Not that there are any at the moment.
Say good morning to everybody, darling.
Quite weird.
Now, last week we had some inquiries as to who is that woman in the picture. So, briefly,
who's the
introduction.
Random woman? So the random woman is, I'm the person who's normally behind the camera. My name is Monica and I'm Simon's wife. So occasionally you will hear me sort of chirping up and asking questions and trying to
Occasionally
get him to create a little bit more clarification about things that he takes for granted, but some of us, these experienced painters, maybe don't. So,
right.
In any case, I'm now going to say,
morning, everybody.
Enjoy your
Good morning. Good morning. I hope you've all signed in. Welcome to everyone around the world. I'm Simon. We are painting in France. We do painting workshops and painting holidays. You can find out all about that by clicking through to the website. But today, ladies and gentlemen, on this frosty morning here in the south of France in our studio, I am going to paint this scene for us. If you go back after this video, there's a few earlier posts on the Facebook page. You'll see all the kind of reference photographs and the step-by-step process, which I did a while ago, which I shall actually be using myself. But to start with, I'm just going to wash in some sky and some distant hills and some basic colours underneath. We'll let that dry and then we'll start adding some detail.
Did you wet your paper first?
I did actually wet the paper, but this is, I think, 425 gram rough paper. I did actually give it a once over with some clear water to begin with. I think I should have perhaps done it a little bit later because now it's bone dry and just gone a bit wrinkled. But we shall start. I'm going to start with a little bit of cerulean blue for the sky.
Is that pure cerulean?
Please, yeah, pure cerulean blue at the moment. Actually, no, I'm going to put a little touch of Pthalo blue just to give it a slightly more summery Mediterranean feel. But what I'll do, I'll just always generally try it on a piece of paper first, and then I'm just going to sweep this majestically across here. Let's do that. It doesn't have to be too smooth, but make sure you've got enough paint mixed up. So here we go. I'm just going to kind of let it flood on there. In fact, I might put a little bit more of that, the Pthalo blue, which is a bit of a richer blue. I'm just going to put a bit more of that in. And then I'll come back from the top again. We're going to paint, as you can see, we can paint over the tree because that's going to be a stronger colour later on. I'm just sort of keeping this flooding on. And what I'll do, that's kind of a bit darker there. For those who've just joined us, I did a sketch of the scene with a 2B pencil just to get the main shapes in. And now I'm coming down lower and I'm going to add a little bit of water to the mix just to thin it out. There we are. And that's going to come down to the land pretty well clear, I think, all being well. I'm just going to take a little bit of tissue, dry my brush and just wipe that off. But we're going to just keep painting. In fact, I'm going to refer to my notes. We're going to go down into Naples yellow and then a sort of greeny colour, sap green, of course, in the foreground. So, I'm just going to wash the brush out and a bit of Naples yellow. This is for the, what you don't want to do is have your Naples yellow going up into your sky. So that's why I've kind of dried that off. Let's have a look. I don't want to make it too strong either. So I'm just, here we go. I'm just going to put that in. So basically we're doing the kind of the distant land colour, you know, kind of, if you look into the picture, there's quite a kind of pale Naples yellow in the soil there perhaps, and then eventually there'll be more green on top. So this is the joy of watercolour, just sweeping that across there.
It's probably one of those things that we look forward to most, isn't it? Is sort of from it's late spring going into the summer is when the poppies start coming out, and then you really know it's the beginning of summer.
That's true, we did
And last year, during our first lockdown, we had a fantastic poppy field within walking distance of our house. It really was beautiful.
Painting, we did some paintings.
We did some paintings in it, yeah.
On a previous post, you'll find them. So now I've just had a little bit of thin sap green just for those middle area, and now I'm going to make it, just that little bit stronger as we. Ooh,
that's quite strong.
I'm just going to keep talking. Well, that'll be fine. And this is like for that area down in the foreground. And because it's a rough paper, you get that nice kind of broken, dry brush effect.
Just remind people what paper it is that you actually use, Simon.
This is a 425 gram rough paper, and I've taped it down, just going to give it a little bit of a base. And normally I wouldn't be working vertically, so this all may go horribly wrong, but it does help to kind of blend the colours. But you get a nice texture with it, especially on these kind of the landscapes. This is, for the record, quarter imperial. I'm not quite sure the exact, about 50 centimetres by 40 centimetres, and I'm sure someone will let me know the imperial measurements too. So we've got that. What I might do, look, I've got I've got your cerulean blue, a bit of Pthalo blue, and your distant hills in Naples yellow coming into sap green in the foreground. I'm just checking back here. I might just put a little bit more of that slightly stronger blue on the top, but not. The thing is not to do it too thin. I'm just going to try that. It might go wrong, but no, I think we're okay. I'm just going to kind of blend that down.
We've got quite a number of people watching this morning.
Excellent. Have we gone global? Have we got them from
some old and some new? Yes.
Some old and some new. Okay.
Let us know where you're from. It's always interesting to see where people are watching from.
And I'm just literally taking a damp brush and I'm just kind of sweeping majestically across the sky here, just to sort of blend that. Maybe hint at a few wispy summer clouds. Anyone who's come to any of our workshops, they're very familiar with this quick way of doing the sky. I mean, we're lucky down here. If the sky is invariably blue with just a wisp of a cloud. So when anyone says, can we do a stormy sky, I do need to do some look for reference and do some practice on the quiet. Anyway, that's I would normally let that dry now and then start putting these distant hills in. So I'm going to dry that off quickly.
Welcome, Denmark.
Welcome, Denmark.
And Melbourne, Australia. Phoebe from Melbourne.
Melbourne, Australia.
Birmingham. Where Simon hails from originally.
Can you hear me, Mother? There we are.
It's not Mother.
It's not Mother.
No.
So I think they were going to show them the film, so who knows? He might be there. So I'm just going to soften that.
And we've got Helen from Muggerlust just around the corner. Hi, Helen.
We've got the whole range here now. Good. Okay, that's got the sky there, and I've painted over the tree, and we've got the distant hills now. So if you look here, we've got ranges of hills. Distant one, they're slightly darker than the sky, so I'm going to just mix up the colour slightly darker, and then darker blue again, and then we're into the greenery here. So
Harwich, Croydon, Amanda Patterson, Sharon's daughter.
Right.
And before that, we had, I think it was Krista from the Philippines, who has said it's her second time watching.
Excellent. This is what we like. People have come back for more.
Alison from New Zealand.
Let's go. It is great.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, so
guys, I've got to say, it makes our day when we see all these people greeting us from around the world.
I apologise. I'm looking a bit rough actually there. I didn't sleep very well. It's just the excitement of today's tutorial. I just woke up early, but ignore it. So anyway, distant hills, slightly dark in the sky. I've mixed up a cerulean blue. Let's have a look. We've got these kind of hills here. I've just changed the shape slightly. So we're just going to kind of fade that down there, look. And we're going to put a darker one on top. I think I might just let that dry a little bit. So
Hi, Uncle Hugh.
They're all there. It's a family show. Okay, now I'm just drying off those distant hills, and then we're going to come forward a layer. Like I said, I am. It does speed it up having the hair dry. Normally we just lean back and
well, you don't.
The copy.
You don't need it on a hot summer's day, though, do you?
Exactly.
Let's be honest.
It does, yeah. Okay, so artists, you can see that's now slightly darkened the sky. what I'm going to do now is perhaps a slightly smaller brush. This is now, what do I have to check every time? 12, a size 12 around Imitation Sable. I'm going to do this, I think there's a little bit magenta in there. Should we try a bit of magenta?
Are you going to put a little bit?
I've got, so we've got that sky. The thing is, it's a with watercolour, it's a juggling act because you want the layers to get stronger as they come forward. But if you painted those mountains in too strong, then it gets difficult to get stronger. The idea is to have them distant, fading with a bit of aerial perspective to help give drama to your picture. So I'm mixing up the sky blue. I'm going to
just show people how it's changing.
I'm mixing up a little bit of Payne's grey, a little bit magenta in there. Let's just recklessly go straight in. I'm doing this kind of range. See that range there? That's the kind of there we are. There'll be a nice little restaurant in that village, I know.
Will it be open though?
Oh, will it be open? Probably not. No. Okay, I'm just going to literally just do this quite quickly. That's a little bit blue, but we've kind of got that sort of shape here. I'm going to keep it a little bit wobbly. That gives it a nice sort of. Oh, there's some distant trees that on that ridge. Let's get a bit more. I'm going to have a little bit more mauve. Now I may have already gone too dark, but we'll keep our fingers crossed here. I've just got a little bit of a.
It'll dry lighter.
It'll dry lighter, yeah. In fact, I'm going to dry it off down this end. What do you mean I'm making it up as I go along? So I've just got a damp brush. I'm just going to put a little damp brush over there. There we are. It just sort of takes those hills back into the mist a little bit. So what I want to do now is also with the damp brush here, I'm just going to soften that edge off a little bit. So you see now we've got a nice little mix of the different sort of layers coming forward. What have I got here? Okay, light wash of Payne's grey, cobalt blue on the cobalt blue.
Simon, do you know what that's called?
What's that?
Cheating.
These are my notes. When it's dry, stronger yellow-green on the field. So let's have a look. I'll just let that little area on the damp brush. Let's just fade that away.
Just also to let people know, any of these ones that have the sort of written tutorials are actually on our website as well, aren't they? Under the tutorial section.
If they're not, they soon will be. There's a lot on the website. Yeah, step-by-step tutorials. With the kind of details and reference photographs and reference drawings for you to have a go at your leisure on a wet weekend. Right, I've got this slightly more yellowy ochre colour going in here now. We're in that sort of middle area there. I'm going to put just some sweeping colours on, and then we're going to put those trees in. So let's have a look. What colour is that? Let's try that. Okay. It's kind of keep it sort of pretty loose.
So what colour did you say you were using there?
I think it's like a yellow ochre, but there's a little bit of cadmium yellow as well. So I'm trying to kind of keep it sort of freshish.
Yeah.
And I may have so we've got this sort of colour here. We're doing these sort of area there in the middle. I'm just going to leave a few gaps. I'm going to come forward a little bit. There we go. Maybe a little bit more like green now. There we go. That's okay. And then what I'll do, I'll just put almost like a dry brush. This is like literally across here, in the middle, in front of the trees, that kind of thing. So it's lots of layers going on, as you can see. To an extent, I am making it up as I go along. But the idea is to get that kind of distance going on. I may have got that a little bit strong, but I think we'll be okay. What I will do. So just to recap, we've got some sky, very light sky washed in, coming down onto the greenery, and then that's dried off. I'll put the slightly deeper bluey grey colour in for the hills, and then a little bit blue again with magenta. And now we've got some nice kind of sweeping yellows and greens for the fields in the foreground. But what I am going to try and do is just the clean brush. If you look, there's little villages up here. I'm just going to sort of with a clean brush, just sort of wipe a few little highlights away, hopefully. Otherwise, we'll dab it in with a little bit of white gouache later on.
Cheating again here.
That's right. Yeah, that's okay. That's got a nice little. So we're just going to stay in that kind of middle area. And if you look, there's like nice little sort of clumps of trees, there's hints of fields, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to mix up just a sap green. I've got a slightly smaller brush, bit of sap green, a little bit of hooker's green, and then
Okay, so you're going substantially darker
It's
than
a
you
little
did
bit-
in your
yeah.
foreground.
yeah. And if you look, I'm just going to try it. It might just oh, that's a bit too wet. See, that's all gone a bit too runny. But what I'm trying to do is put in some hints of the different sort of
Hairdryer?
hairdryer. Hairdryer, here we are again. Like I said, you know, it's a kind of layered thing, and do it step by step, and just once you get there, let it dry, and you can go back in.
See, I like it when Simon uses the hairdryer because that means I can have a sip of my tea.
Sit down and have a cup of tea. Yeah, I like it. So there we go. That's that area there. Because that is the challenge with watercolour. Sometimes you want it to kind of blend like nicely with the sky in the foreground, and then you want to let get a nice little sharpness in there as well. So you do need to let it dry in between layers. So let's try again. I've got this kind of sap green with a little bit of hooker's green mixed in, and we're just going to kind of just dab in some foresty things over it.
It's just the garrick, isn't it? The garrick is the natural sort of bush that we have here in the south of France. And it what is lovely at this time, at this time of the year, it's actually evergreen. So it's
Bit of blue.
there's still a lot of greenery around, even though the vines are completely devoid of any leaves. Where there is natural growth, one has this lovely covering of green.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just adding a little bit of blue to the kind of greeny mix. And the idea, just keep it sort of random. We've literally got these little areas of greenery. I might just put a hint of a road or something in there. Maybe a little.
We've got a few more people that have joined us very recently.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Do you want to do just a quick...
Oh, yeah. I'll let that dry. So, yeah, just a quick recap. Hi, I'm Simon from Painting in France. Monica, my wife, is filming courageously. And we are painting this in this week's Live in Lockdown. And the idea is, what I've done so far is...
One quick question. Krista has asked, what blue do you use, please?
The blue. I've used Cerulean blue, which is a nice kind of fresh blue. I used to use a lot of cobalt, but that always often worked out quite grainy. I don't know why. So Cerulean blue with a little hint of tropical Pthalo blue. But go easy on that because it's very strong. But it does help to give a nice kind of warm Mediterranean or southern French hint of sky, especially in the summer. I mean, this is actually quite pale. So you wash that on, a little bit of Pthalo blue, and then I've added water as I've come down, just so you get that kind of, so it's lighter down at the bottom, and then some sweeping light colours first, and then getting stronger in the foreground. Once that's dried, I'll put the little range of hills in there, and I'm just putting these little trees and stuff into the middle ground. So I'm just going to quickly dry that off. And what's next? I'm just going to give the...
A tree, darling, a tree.
Okay, yeah, well, they're all important. There's that range of trees there in the middle, which are very important. But the thing is not to get it too watery. I've just got that one right, that's good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go back a little bit, sort of perhaps oversimplified, straight to sap green. Everyone knows it's one of my favourites. And I'm literally going to, this is this sort of, see this little range of trees there in the foreground there, like kind of there.
Yeah.
That's like quite a sort of strong line of trees. So I'm literally going to start with, the sun is coming from that way, so I'm just going to kind of literally just paint that in. Almost stronger. This can be quite thick painted. You want to kind of, I'm almost drawing, I want a sort of edge down the bottom, do you see what I mean? To mark the edge of the field. We're still painting, as you can see, over the tree. Although actually I think I'll leave the tree trunk unpainted here.
No, it's quite a dark colour that you'd have to.
So now I'm just randomly, I still want to kind of see a hint of that middle ground, so I'm not putting trees over everything. But this is just going to go in. I'll put a few little cypress trees in there. That's quite nice, isn't it?
Margaret Bice is Margaret from Canberra, isn't it?
Hi, Margaret. Yeah, how are you down there? Well, thanks for coming along.
Margaret was somebody who came on one of our holidays
She
about
was
2 years
indeed,
ago,
yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, good chip. Let's hope the holidays get going again. How's lockdown and details where you are? We're pretty open here at the moment, aren't we? Although it is talking of
I reckon
down
we're
again,
going
aren't
to
they?
go into lockdown again in
Yeah.
2 or 3 days from now, yeah.
Right.
The rumours abound,
Yeah.
as they
So-
say.
I've just done that quite roughly, but there's a bit of an edge on the bottom to see, just a hint at a slightly cleaner line. And now I'm going to go in with the hooker's green, because we've got the sun coming from the one side. I'm just going to put a little bit of dark in, just on the sort of shadow side. Do you see what I mean? There. Any questions, darling? Can you think of anything? You all right?
No, I'm
just
watching how you're creating sort of almost that sense of
yeah, it's just kind of
directional light.
yeah, we're just kind of putting out that sort of slightly darker green. It could mix just a little bit of blue in there. And I'm just sort of randomly on the kind of right-hand side of these trees, just putting that in. I might put another, let's have another one of these.
Helen has asked if when she comes past in the few days from now, is there any chance that you've got some spare sheets of paper? She's being encouraged to pick up my brush again.
Certainly, we can certainly come to some special rates for Brexit. They're actually doubled in price, and you've got to pay tax. You've got some paperwork to fill out before I give you anything. Yeah, I'm sure we can find something. That's a mess, isn't it? I used to get all my materials from the SAA
In the UK.
In the UK, it was just a great website, lots of material.
And they're normally delivered within 2 days. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Some things have already gone missing. So I think it's now perhaps long overdue. I'll be using French suppliers.
Yeah.
Les Beaux-Arts.
Les Beaux-Arts.
Okay, so that's very quickly. Just see, I've got that a little bit of darkness on there now, quite random. Which is, let's have a look. I mean, you want to just kind of recap in case you're wondering how to do trees. I mean, I've kind of gone on.
I'm just trying to find an
We've
angle.
got a bit of. Sorry, it's been rained on. But yeah, you can almost just keep that nice little shape going on. So don't do this kind of thing.
It's a mixture of the side of the brush and then sort of just lightening it a bit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just a bit more, then drawing a bit more around. Sorry about the other goings on. It's just quite a nice effect there, isn't it? And then you, while that's still damp, you can add your darker colours as well. In fact, let's have a quick look.
And then it just bleeds in slightly.
Yeah, I think it looks so. There you go. Imagine it's a little bit darker down there, and just before you know it, you've got a distant wood. I'll sign that.
Not bad.
We'll get that in the frame later. Okay.
So Angeli has said, no hooker's green, but can I add some blue to some sap green?
Certainly can. Yeah, certainly can. I mean, just add a little bit of the blue. I mean, use some of the cerulean blue or even some of the slightly deeper blue, ultramarine. Add that. Experiment on a piece of paper. Yeah, you can start at one end of the page with sap green and the other end with another blue. And just add a little bit of. Start with green and add a little bit more blue every time. You do little squares and you can see the range that you can get. But yeah, certainly adding a little blue would give you the same effect. Right, where are we now? This is, I won't do any more in the middle of that. I'll just quickly dry that area off. But yeah, the next thing is to put, hopefully you can still see.
I can get some more tea.
More tea, okay, yeah, the hairdryer. Tea.
Except I have to open my thermos flask. It's a little difficult with one hand.
Sorry about that. There we are. So once again, as you see, we can sort of drying each layer off, and then we can paint with confidence on top. So the next thing, what did I say? The actual tree. Let's have dark brown and a grey mix. So we'll have a little bit of burnt umber.
Okay, which one is your burnt umber?
Burnt umber is this kind of deep kind of brown colour.
So it's...
you don't want to use just burnt umber to do a tree. So I'm just adding a little bit of Payne's grey. Payne's grey. And at this point, if you've done this, or if you're doing this picture sometime, it's a good idea to just recap where you're drawing. You don't want your drawing so strong, but at the same time, you don't want it too weak, so you completely lost it. So I am just going to literally just do the usual.
Just trying to find a place where I can. No, don't worry. I'll find a place where we can see what you're doing.
Painting this from the bottom up, all being well. It's a kind of.
It's what you tend to do, don't you? When you're doing
it does help just
branches
to kind of
is bottom up.
Bottom up, as I say, bottoms up, and I'm just literally going to flick that up. And perhaps just roll the brush to a point and flick some.
Sorry, I'm moving the camera around a bit. I'm just trying to give you guys the best angle.
Okay. You can't see too many branches in here.
No.
But, I might come back to that with a little, basically thick at the bottom, thinner at the top, and I think I will have a little bit of a branch sticking up over here. It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it?
There's a little bit of a typical olive tree. Though.
I guess you're right. Yeah, I mean, in many ways,
they don't have long trunks. They often branch from quite low down.
And so now, actually, I'm going to, while I'm at it, I'll just add a little bit more Payne's grey to make this that much darker. But we might come back and do a little bit of light and shade. It's quite nice if you can get a hint, leave some light areas to capture some shadow. Do you see what I mean?
And olive bark is quite a grey colour, isn't it?
It is.
Not
I am.
Brown. You've got
we got one. Oh, there's one in the garden. But so I am cheating a little. I am sort of taking a little bit of a quick approach. But if you want to Google olive tree trunks and get the colour just right, good for you. I think that's a good idea sometimes. Because actually now, in my step-by-step tutorial, I've just said, right, leaves, sap green. But really, I mean, an olive tree has got that kind of bluey colour in it as well. So,
well, it's that colour called olive green, isn't it?
It's that colour called olive green. Now, if you've got a tube with olive green written on, you're in luck, because that's what you can use. But if you haven't, I've got sap green, and then I'm going to mix in, a little bit of cerulean blue, and as if by magic, that is pretty close. That's a pretty close colour. Let's look at it. It's a bit more bluey, it's a bit more silvery, isn't it? So, what I forgot to mention was that I quite like the fact that the tree finishes before the edge of the picture. Do you see what I mean? So I've actually drawn it with a little bit of a gap at the top, so it does become more of a statement, I suppose you could call it. So what I would do then, what I might do is make a start, but I might not do the whole tree. I'm just
again. Tree technique.
Yeah.
It's always a hard one for people. Is
I've got
trees.
A brush about size 10 here. As you can see, I've got this kind of mid-toned cerulean blue and sap green mixed up, and I'm just kind of slowly building that up. At this stage, you can pretty well do anything. What's quite nice is if you can hint at.
I noticed though when you use your brush, you very seldomly completely pick your brush up off the paper.
That's point, yes.
It's something that where you're using lighter and darker strokes, but your brush is essentially almost always attached. Rather than it being too dabby,
Too dabby. Dabby is not a good word. Not a good word to have in your portfolio. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like we did the ripples in Venice last time.
Yeah.
You kind of just stroke it backwards and forwards. There's a little bit more flexibility here. And what's I tend to kind of get the main tree in quite big, if you see what I mean. But leave a few gaps. This is some gaps. What do they call them? Sky holes, or I'm not sure what the exact phrase is. But by leaving a few gaps, you hint that you can see through it. And then as you come to the edge,
because as kids we have this tendency of kind of doing a trunk and then almost doing a big
blob,
a big ball on top of it, don't we?
Right. Yes. We would lose viewers if that's all I did. So as you come around the edge, look, I'm just using slightly finer, more olive leaf shapes. And then we can go back in later on and put some dark, there's some darker ones here as well. But do you see what I mean? Just sort of random, think of the shape of the olive. I'm just leaving a little gap actually.
It's a bit like the photograph where you can actually see.
Yeah, that's it. I'll leave that. You can always add more leaves, put it like that. I've left a little gap through there, so you can see the hills in the distance, which is quite nice. So you can see this paint's relatively thick, but it's quite a light sort of tonal mix. And now I think my cerulean blue is running out, so I'm just going to keep going. Are you yawning, darling?
No, I'm not. I'm gasping.
Gasping, that's the spirit. So
Not in more in surprise that you'd run out of a colour, because you always say that's one thing you need to make sure of.
Especially that's a good point. If you're doing a big sky or a big sweeping ground area, it really is good to mix up plenty of colour, because especially if it's a mix of colours, because it's a nightmare trying to mix something back up again.
I suppose on a tree it's less of an issue because no leaf on a tree is exactly the same colour.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, basically, I've still got my sap green and cerulean blue mixed in here. You want to leave a few little highlights. Well, like I said, I might just do a little bit down the bottom to show you, because I mean, this could be. Just don't want to keep those outer leaves a little bit more sort of random. And I think, is it my turn to sit down and have a cup of tea?
Well, you're going to make me paint.
Yeah, you just carry on. You see what I'm doing. Carry that on for another hour.
Okay.
Now what I'll do then, I'll just add, I'll add some hooker's green to our olive greeny mix. Look, I'm just going to add some hooker's green.
But you added a little bit more cerulean to that as well.
A bit more cerulean in there, a bit more of that. This is going pretty well. And basically, perhaps even before that dries, it's for me, it's more the same. I mean, if you paint it on when that layer is too wet, it will all kind of blend in together. But if you paint it on while it's kind of damp, then it just kind of works quite nicely. I think could almost do even darker. But I'm just going to literally just do this little area here. But you get the idea. So you want to kind of think, the sun is coming from the left over here. So basically, this is going to be roughly the dark side over here. So that's going to come on. I mean, what I'll probably... So now you can see getting a little bit of shape going on. The shadow underneath here and there, look. That's good. Any more words of wisdom from... I saw Sue Abel clocked on early. I don't know if she's still watching, because she pointed out the gondolier's oar.
Yes.
Well, that was great. I wonder if she got any tips for this week. That was funny, yeah. I've been painting these gondolas. Have we got any gondolas? Where are the gondolas gone? He's gone. But I've painted this 100 times, and the gondolier's there, and it's got a silhouetted gondolier. She'll find it. Where's he gone? Oh, here he is. Oh,
And it's carnage.
Guys, the hair dries down. Okay, that was the thing. That's what we did. This was one, tutorial we did last time.
And the dog's wondering what is going on as well.
God, what's going on? Yeah, dog's walking off. Meanwhile, back at Venice.
Millie, in your bed.
Back in Venice, I'd done this before, and Sue pointed out the gondolier's oar should go down to the water on this side. I'd always stopped it there, just it was going to be completely silhouetted, and I just thought I'd left it. But no, she was right, and suddenly it's all balanced out. I mean, this is actually still a little bit rough, but that was a great thing, wasn't it? Venice, we must go there as soon as we can. Okay, I'm actually going to leave that there.
Come on, sweet.
You can sit down and have another cup of tea.
Can I? I need to encourage the dog to try and get back in her bed. She's now decided that's given her she's going, okay, well now I'm going to come and visit because you woke me up.
But you're getting the idea.
So that is Millie Moo,
Hello.
our spaniel.
I thought this was a watercolour painting tutorial.
Sorry.
Right.
Sue, it's not a case of you never going to live. I think Simon's never going to live it down.
No,
it was a really good tip.
I can sleep at night. All right. So what you see you can do, you just continue this lovely kind of adding the darker areas. Just bear in mind, you want to keep some light areas to hint that the sun is coming from that side. So now I'm going to put in, perhaps with the same kind of greeny mix, we've got this sort of nice sort of foreground area, and you think, what on earth can you do with that? I do have a special little grassy brush, which I may get at, but basically, if you've just got a regular brush, what you want to do is, with a kind of mid-tone green, sap green for me once again, I'm literally just flicking that up. Do you see what I mean?
Very lightly, aren't
Very
you?
lightly. It's thicker at the bottom, thin at the top, like the tree. And I'm slightly random as well. And try and get the strokes a little bit shorter in the background, because we want to just go around that tree and blend the tree in at some point. So, like I said, we're going to put some dark ones in, so it's not too wet, not too dry. It's just right.
And not too, what do you call it? Like repetitive.
Exactly, yeah, a bit more, quite random. We've got that, so that's kind of flicking in there quite nicely. So eventually we'll have these ruby red poppies over the top. But what you want to try and do by varying the length of your little grassy, it's good if it comes off the page. Don't start doing everything there. It's nice if it comes off the page, it just takes the whole painting out much grander. So yeah, try and leave a few little light areas. I've got some, but we just want to go up to here. It's this kind of patch here, and it's kind of wild. But we want to still have a nice...
See, my inclination would have been to sort of literally do this random dabbing.
Random dabbing.
And it would have just been a mess.
There would have been an alarm go off, and people would have come and plucked the brush off your hands, and you'd have been carried off. So you can see. So I'm going to change the green a little bit. Let's have something a little bit more yellowy, perhaps. Let's try that.
Kind of gets lighter into that right-hand corner, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm kind of getting bored of that one. So, that's kind of darker. Great. Yeah, I may well come back and add a little bit of white to some green and flick that in. But let's just keep this. What I'll do, I'll just take this over all the way, and then I'll show you what I'll do.
Do you ever get bored, like having to do the same thing over and over again?
No. I mean, I'm not going to finish the whole painting now. Oops, that's gone a bit dark. But as you can see, bigger strokes in the foreground, quite random, and then just get some smaller ones in the background, because we want to. It's not just like a grassy fence we've got here. It's supposed to be like a little kind of area of wild flower. I mean, yes, they could go a bit higher. The thing is, you can always add some higher ones if you want, but if you go, but just do it carefully and not too many. Let's try one of those, but it's taking shape. And then a bit more of that. So yeah, you can mix your greens. I've got some slightly limey green ones here, but I mean, there's some.
Sorry, that was a bit of a random camera movement.
There we go. That's kind of got the start. So actually, I'm going to go for a slightly smaller brush.
So the brush you were using before was what, a number 10?
That was a number 10, I think, yeah. And now I'm going to... Not sure what this is, just a slightly smaller one of the travel ones again. But actually, let's have a few darker ones. I've got some Hooker's green again. Quite a nice, strong mix of paint.
I'm just going to show the...
Not too...
So you really are. I mean, that's almost pure Hookers now, isn't it?
It is, really, yeah. And, it's quite thick, so you don't want it too watery. So that was kind of drier now. What I'll just do this sort of little area here. And so now I'm just going in a few little dark ones, you see. But we've still got some lighter areas. We have to kind of press on just to bury those trees, because the tree is obviously sunk into this lush grassy area. But you do need to keep that, keep a few little light areas just to add some interest to it, really. So there we are. So I would then sort of carry that on let's stand back a little bit. Oh, it's just taking shape in it. And what I do now, I would do that all the way across. I mean, I will finish this off later on and include that in the final YouTube edit.
So what do you said that, the YouTube edit, but you tend to take these...
I mean, we do this live now for fun here on Facebook, and what I'll do then is finish the painting properly, and then I'll do an edited version, possibly even with music, and we put that on our YouTube channel, our Painting in France YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch this at your leisure again.
And actually it's quite a good one, because if anybody wants to watch any of our lives or any of our tutorials, we've got quite a bank of different
really,
videos.
If you're locked down and bored with Netflix, really the place to go is our Painting in France YouTube channel, because there's lots of amusing but well-informed.
But some of them, and some of them are just you literally doing a tutorial. Some of them are us touring some of the areas around here as well. So if you want to see a little bit more.
Last week as a trip to Pézenas Market. There's my favourite is one in Nice. Actually, we went to Nice for a weekend. That's great. That was a great one.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope we can go there again soon. So what I'm going to do is look at that. It's the watercolour purists on Facebook will just turn off now, because I'm just adding a little bit of white to the mix here.
It tends to be your commercial art side, doesn't it? I think you're quite pragmatic sometimes about.
I think gouache, which is basically opaque watercolour, is grossly underrated. Because you can get some great work in there.
Can you just show people the colour a little bit? It's almost turning slightly minty green.
Yeah, by
isn't
adding
it?
white to it, it just gives it a little bit of a opacity, really. So you see now what I can do. I can just sort of flick once again, just touching the. So you just get a few little random. So which would be almost impossible to do with pure watercolour. I know they're saying, yes, masking fluid and so on.
But you couldn't get that effect with masking fluid, really, could you?
Not really. No, it'd be quite. A lot of. I don't know if you can flick water. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can flick masking fluid on so fluidly. But there's even a few little dots. So, like I said, I'll just do this little area here. I will go away and finish this off, and just sort of so you can see it. So we're just not putting everything everywhere, but it's nice for just breaking it up, isn't it? You liking it?
Yes, I am. I'm just going to zoom in so people can see it in a bit more detail.
Look, there's a few little random little things. You could put some butterflies in here.
Flutterbies.
You can have little bunny rabbits. Everything. Yeah.
Bunny rabbits.
Yeah. In fact, see, when you've got that mixed up, it's got quite a olive green mix to it as well. So
all I can see is your hand, darling.
I've mixed that white with sap green and a little touch of cerulean blue, and you see then you can go back to your olive tree and just have a few little, especially any dark bits, just add a few little.
Because
sparkles.
Also olive trees have that sort of tendency to have when the sun hits them, they can almost shine, can't they?
Exactly.
I mean, if you look at the top of that, I know it's not a great photograph.
No. It's not brilliant reference material, but yeah, you do get these kind of sparkly effects. So basically, once you press on with your dark areas here, you can increase the darkness, get some more dark areas in there, and then you can just literally touch in a few little highlights, and it really brings it to life. So then, all it needs me to do is find some cadmium red. Let's get some poppies on.
That's your go-to poppy colour, isn't it?
Go-to poppy colour, yeah, is this beautiful cadmium red. Wash the brush out.
Because the poppies really are that slightly orangey red colour, aren't they?
So once again, I'll just get that. This is really.
Is it dry?
We'll find out.
Okay.
You see, this is really quite thick now, and then you want to put some. I'm just literally going to do this little area here. We've built this up. We started here. Look, some lighter green, or some middle colour green here, then some darker green, and then just that little white added to the green, just to flick some nice little lighter sections in. And now I'm literally almost using cadmium red straight out of the tube. And you get that, once again, random, a few different sizes, some bigger in the foreground, look. And you can go on till for another hour doing those. So I'll pass the brush over to Monica. I'll help myself to a nice cup of tea. And you can carry on. But you get the idea.
You want a guaranteed mess of your painting.
No, the thing, what people tend to do is like, dun, 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 dun. Try to think random, think casual. Some smaller ones, like here, we can have a few, who knows, we can have a few, hint at some smaller ones in distant fields.
It's, but I think that is one of the big mistakes people make, isn't it?
It is.
Generally, when they're painting, is when they're doing repetitive areas, they have a tendency to do the same shape over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, actually, if you're... they're probably not going
I mean, that comes from somebody like myself who
right, yeah.
would
Right.
quite naturally make that mistake without even...
There we go. No, it's true. So, keeping it random, I'm just going to put a little bit of
putting a hint of dark in
burnt
some.
umber. I mean, some of them, yeah, it's like you get this little sort of... not too watery. I should have really let these dry. I'm just going to put a few little brown...
I'm really zooming in.
Yeah, that's just literally just got that in there.
Okay.
So that is pretty good. But hopefully, that'll give you the idea. Actually, I'm just going to go back to the tree trunk. So once you've got your foreground taking shape, I'm just going to add a little bit of that gouache white to my tree trunk mix, which I've lost. That was a burnt umber and a bit of Payne's grey. So I've always got that kind of pale. I'm literally just going to put a little.
So it's just the hint of sun hitting the...
Yeah, I've got this. Once again, it's kind of gone over to mixed media, really. But I'm just sort of keeping one eye on what's in the reference picture. And that you get a few little light areas up in the... It just sort of gives little details like that for me. Just go, oh yeah, that's it. It looks like now the sun's catching the tree. And... yeah, tree a little bit dark shade. So,
Are we there yet?
yeah, I think we are. Like I said, I'm going to carry on with this, and so in the final version, I'll post up the finished painting and so on, and then. But yeah, you've got the idea. We've got the light colours going on first in the background, the distant hills, and as we've come forward, we intensify the colour. It's a nice little green, dark green there in the middle. That's nice. And you see already, I thought that range of hills was going to be too dark. But, so you are, see? It's gone. I mean, you can, if you want to, with a little bit of white and Naples yellow, you can just hint at some, I'll put a few little village houses just in the distance. It all helps just to give the illusion of distance and depth, which I think is what's exciting in painting. It can become a bit too flat. So as we've come forward, there's some big rough dry brush strokes in the middle, and then as we come forward we've just got that intensity of green and dark greens and poppies, and as you see, the key thing is just to try and get the tree to disappear softly into the grass growing around it. So bigger strokes in the foreground, smaller ones in the background.
A few good nights going on. Just very quickly before people leave is gallery.
Oh yeah, gallery, yes. If you'd like to have a go at painting this picture, it'd be great. Like I said, on the previous post there is on our Facebook page there is the reference drawing and the reference photograph, so you can sketch that out, do a little painting over a wet weekend, and if you can send it in before next Monday, we'll have like an online gallery. Which is
that the Monday before we do the next?
No, that's just...
Next one, in a week from now.
Next Sunday,
Okay.
Monday, get them done by then. And then we'll put it on the gallery there.
And you tend to do a little critique for people as well, don't you?
I can be very critical, and I will answer any questions you may have. If you're doing a painting, think I'm struggling with this, do send me a copy, and I'll do my best to get back to you with any questions. But is that good for now?
I think it is.
Yeah. So it's very brief, it's very speedy, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to get on now and finish this painting, and we'll be in touch in a couple of weeks. We'll be doing another one. Bye for now then.
So it's a good night, good morning, and good lunchtime.
Okay, well bye for now. I'm just going to get on with this.
Cheerio.
Bye.